Let me know if you guys are still having trouble hearing us, and we're going to dive right into it. So, Backbeat is a game where you play as a band, and your goal in this game is to manipulate 4 different threads of time, moving your band members through this environment puzzle to the goal area with a limited number of turns. So in that sense, it's a resource-based game from the start. The time management comes into where all 4 players that you have, you're going to pull these players together and they're going to coordinate where they're moving through the game at different points. So, like, imagine that we're robbing a bank. Not that I would ever do something like that, but let's just say for the points of argument that I'm driving the getaway car and you're the one coming out of the bank with the money. Now, if I start the engine on the getaway car too soon, maybe we run out of gas while the cops are driving after us and then we get caught. But if I start the engine too late, then maybe by the time you get in the car, the security guards are following you, and then we're caught again that well. So I need to find the exact right moment in time where I start that engine and you get in the car and we make our getaway. And that's what Backbeat is about. Backbeat is about moving these characters through these environments to solve these puzzles. Someone's stolen their instruments, or they need to get to their band practice on time. And you have 4 different characters that move entirely different ways. And you must use the way they move and the threads of time that they have and synchronize all of that together to get to the goal. So, let's go into the game, and I can start showing you some of this stuff here. We're going to be looking at level 2A, so I will just jump you over to the screen for a second. Okay, so this is one of the levels that was in the demo. You can play it right now. This is level 2. And what happens here is that our protagonist Watts and her friend Ashley have come to the Cave of Wonders arcade. And what they need to do is they need to get to this other player they've heard about, this guy named Toshi. And so they have to go through the arcade and talk to Toshi and try to convince him to join the band. So I'm just going to skip through the dialogue right now. So you guys can try that out on your own. The demo is available to download at any time. All right, so I have my character. You can play this game with a keyboard. We don't have mouse support right now. You can definitely use the WASD keys if you want to move around, but what I recommend is using a controller if you have one, but it does work to use WASD if that's the way you want to go. So when I move the stick a different direction, I hear some notes. So Watts is a bassist, so every move that she makes is going to be a few notes of bass music. And the different directions that you move change which kind of music is played. So we have this potential song that we're going to carve out here. And every movement that you make is part of that song. And you control what that sounds like and where you go. So we're going to push the stick out here, and I'm going to push the A button. I'm going to walk around this arcade. Let's see what we got in here. So we have this isometric type view, and there's grid tiles that are shaded with a darker and lighter kind of pattern. And those are the ones you can move on. So you can see I've got some other ones over here, but I can't move to that area because it's outside of the bounds. This is very early on, so the puzzle here is not complicated. The puzzle here is to move through space and get used to the way the character operates. You can see that we have these different kinds of obstacles set into the space. There's a coin money changers and like sit-down cabinets and stand-up arcade cabinets and things like that. This game does take place in 1995. So when we were choosing the locations and the colors and the graphics, we wanted to build something that kind of really felt like the 90s to us and reminded us of the 90s. Maybe you went to shopping malls in the 90s, or you've seen movies where they went to shopping malls and they had the arcade with the counter and the prizes behind it and things like that. I know they still have Dave & Buster's and things like that in the States as well, and that's fantastic. But for us in the dev team, we grew up going to these kind of places, and this is where we hung out. So if we move over here, we can see that there's some people gathering around it looks like a game station console in the background. and some giant bear prizes that could be won. Maybe if you played skee ball and got enough points there. So when I move, I can always move in a cardinal direction, unless there's an obstacle, unless I'm out of turns. So if I move a bit more, now I've run out of turns. And you can tell this by looking at the upper left-hand corner, where we have the timeline. And you see in this timeline, it looks a bit like a guitar neck. And when it fills all the way up, then you're out of turns. So you need to get to the goal before that fills. The other thing is I can undo any of my moves I want to. So I'm gonna hit the B button. I can rewind all the way back to the beginning if I want. So there is no game over in Backbeat. It's not like if you make a bad choice, then you're stuck with it for the rest of the time. Backbeat is about finding the optimal group of movements through space and time that work for you, to work the obstacle, to get the song you like, and then ultimately to get an S rank in the level and get lots of points to unlock all of the vanity items and things like that show up later in the game. So this game is an isometric game where your characters are moving on a grid, and you have control over getting them across and rewinding. And now if we walked into the goal area here with the extra checker, you can see that now we're at the goal and the story sequence continues. And Toshi is over here. He's an excellent guitar player, and he would be a perfect complement to our band. So that is level 2, and that's how you move around in here. So now that we've talked about the first level and the basic controls of the game, we're going to take a break from the game and go talk about the art style. So I'm going to open up my presentation and we're going to look at some concept art, stuff like that. So 1 sec. All right. So now let's see what we got here. I'm going to turn on my presentation. And yeah, so now we're going to talk for a few minutes about the art style of Backbeat. And what we have is where we start with the game is we start with a mood board. Like, what do we want this game to look like? So in our mood board, we were thinking we want a game that like feels the best kind of things that happened about the 32-bit era. We're talking, PlayStation 1, Soul Calibur, the kind of arcade cabinets that we had back then, but without all of the rough edges that you have with like really low resolution textures and things like that. 90s in America was the heyday of the brick and mortar chain store. You have your chain restaurants, you have your chain video stores, your shopping malls that are owned by corporations and things like that. So that time when you would go out and you would do all of your shopping in the city, this is when the internet was just starting to take off. We had dial-up and things like that. So we were using modems to get onto bulletin boards and America Online and that kind of jazz. So what we wanted to capture was something that felt analog. And the period where digital technology was not at the forefront yet, and it's kind of more of a novelty than something you do every day. Going to a live club, a live musical performance is something that really affects you deeply. And getting a paper flyer and going out there and seeing them, that's great. And that's what we wanted to recreate with this. The game takes place in the fictional city of Hornsburg, which is situated on the mid-Atlantic seaboard, suburb of Washington, D.C. That's where I grew up. And we had a city around there where you would be quite likely to be doing loops around the Denny's on the highway on the weekends and stuff like that. And you would spend your time there. You would drive across the highway, and then they would have the Blockbuster, and they would have the shopping mall and the movie theater, the Lowe's, and things like that. So we wanted to capture those things that still exist in America today, but we wanted to do it with a kind of a feeling that evoked what the 90s were like, what we're talking about 25, 30 years ago. So we use a lot of soft pastel colors. We use earth tones. The 90s, of course, did have a lot of neon going on, like your Lisa Frank and your Saved by the Bell and stuff like that. But rather than hit it on the nose, we kind of wanted to tone it back a bit and make it smooth and feel pulpy, kind of paper. So that's what we've done. And a lot of our concepts on locations and on the places that we go to are built around that, live clubs and live musics. And we looked at a lot of the live houses in the Washington, D.C. area, the 930 Club and DC 9 and things like that. And these are the places that we went to. We were starting to listen to music and going to see gigs. So we started with those as reference and sketched them out and went back to what the feeling is like. And now with the way the world is today, not a lot of us have had a chance to go to live music and big events, and it's fantastic that we can bring this into the game. Thankfully, things are getting easier now to be able to do that, but that's a feeling that we want to have in this game. That's cozy and feels warm and feels physical. So we have different places in Backbeat. We have dive bars, and we have actual live houses. We have pawn shops and shopping malls, video arcades like the Cave of Wonders we were in before. We have our own video store chain, a make-believe video store chain inside of the game, and also homes, single-family homes where people are spending their life. And our main character, Watts, is living there with her mother and her stepfather and her little brother. And she is in her early 20s, and has a job that she's holding down, but at the same time, she's looking for something new. And that feeling of, after you finish college, but you haven't quite gotten on your way yet, that happens to a lot of us. And what is that? And where are we going? And what are those kind of problems? And what are the kind of vibe that we have with that is stuff that we wanted to capture inside of Backbeat. So we've looked a little bit at some of the inspirational images and location concept art. And we also have fantastic characters in our game. And the characters are designed both partially by the writing team, who's coming up with who these people are, and then the art team that's talking about the journey of like, how are these characters looking and what is the style that we want them to have, both in a 2D sense and a 3D sense. So what I have a couple of slides now to show you like some of the concept art that we had from designing the characters of Backbeat, going back to when we were just beginning, going through some of the others, and then the challenges that we have with expressions, and then making the characters look alive, and when they're talking to each other in dialogue panels, like how to capture that and get both their personality and also be functional. And I think, Andrea, would you like to talk about the characters? Or yeah? Okay, so I'm going to switch seats with you. You can sit over here.
All right.
Yeah, go ahead.
I get hot seat.
Yep.
Awesome.
Talk right up into the mic.
Hello, I'm Andrea. I'm a 3D artist here at Ichigoichie, and I'm here to talk to you about the characters. Do we have like a...
Yeah, so if you click over there and then you go
I can click
up and down. Yeah,
awesome.
there you go.
Hello. So we were talking a lot of, we wanted to create the characters that you can get a feel of just by looking at them, kind of like having different shapes, and that already talking to you in the sense of, for example, the drums we have is a character is very like, stocky, friendly, gullible, silent type, and then you have kind of like the keyboards, sort of nerdy, tech guy, introvert, that kind of thing. And of course guitar, a little bit shy, passionate, kind, and bass, which became our Watts. Our main character, confident, charming, leader, and reliable. And then we have like a video for this as well.
Sorry, for the characters?
Yes.
We don't have any videos for the characters today, I'm sorry.
No, but on Steam, there was a video which...
Oh, right. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Sorry, yes, we have that video. The second trailer has the character introduction.
Exactly.
Yes,
So
yes.
if you want to see that, that's on Steam as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is what we ended up with. These are the main characters that you already meet in the demo. So this is our main heroine, What? She's the one that has just finished college that Dave was talking about, that is looking for a new for something that she's passionate in life, kind of like a new way to go. And so she's very she has the double denim look. That was very typical for the 90s.
And just see that look is still fine. I don't think we're saying you don't have to only be the 90s. You can still wear double denim. It's completely fine with us. At least me anyway.
Yeah, the 90s are coming back for sure. So, And if they're not, we're bringing them back, I suppose, right?
That's right.
Yeah,
Definitely.
we will. And then I don't know if you remember the chart from before. The second guy is the. I don't think live things work. Is the drummer.
Drummer, yes.
Drummer Josh.
Yes. Josh the drummer, yes.
Yes. Very kind person, smiley. He's working at the Blockbuster. So yeah, red kind of like
Hollywood movies.
Hollywood movies. Yeah.
Sorry. We're gonna get the band hammer brought down on us.
And then we have our suave. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, suave.
Saxophonist.
Saxophonist, Chaz.
There we go. And last one is Toshi,
Yes.
keyboardist, and
Yes.
he's our nerdy.
He's our gearhead. Yeah.
Keyboardist. These guys, you kind of get a teaser from
Yeah.
in the demo.
If anybody has gotten to the last level of the demo, then you've seen the guy on the left.
Yeah.
That's Jack. Yeah.
He's these are the sweethearts of the town, right?
Yeah,
These
that's
are
right.
Rivals.
Yeah, so to not give too many spoilers, but these guys are the people to beat.
Exactly. So I'm have you look at this pretty art and these amazing characters. Can I tell them the names or no?
Yeah, you can tell them names.
Okay,
Sure.
I can tell them. Okay, good. We're
Yeah.
good. We're good. Yeah, I can tell you. So we have Jack. Then next to him is Cindy, and then we have Diane. And last one is my favorite. It's Yumir. But you're gonna have to kind of like I think you have to kind of get the game to get to know them.
Yes. Leave it at that for now.
Yeah. So the characters have a lot of these expressions. As you can tell, we have them in the dialogue as well. And we wanted them to be very like, the surprise kind of like uniform, so you can tell what the characters are feeling. Therefore, we worked a lot on expression and just to kind of get a feeling for what they'll feel. Despite the different personalities, some traits remain the same, so it's easier to tell what they're feeling and how to just let the emotions flow, so we can easier tell the story.
Mm-hmm.
And then here is the end result for Watts. If you've played them, or you've seen all of these faces.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. There's many more, however. Let me just. Are we gonna skip quickly through this? We're not supposed to share this.
No, they can see it. They can just say. I mean, it's so small. Like, there's no spoilers in terms of characters, but this just shows all the different characters that we have in the title.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
Okay, why don't we switch gears again, and I'll talk some more about level design. Thank you so much. All right, so next we are going to go back to the game and look at some levels that are not in the demo, actually, and show some of the more advanced mechanics. So just give me a second, and I'll switch everything over. All right, we're back. And we have teleported ourselves once again to the year of 1995. And we are looking at one of the levels that's out just a couple levels beyond the scope of where the demo is. And this is the level where we start to learn some different kinds of mechanics in the game. So in the beginning of the game, you have static obstacles that you have to get around. Like, okay, there's a door in my way, or there's a trash can or something. And then in the end of the demo, you start to have dynamic obstacles where there are guards that are patrolling around. And if you bump into them, then it's not gonna let you pass. So you have to find a way where you can sneak around them, or maybe you have to take a break and rest in place while they advance, because the guards have their own pre-made paths, and you have your path which you have to build out, and the guards have their own timeline. You can't see this in the timeline in the upper left-hand corner, but you have to study their patterns and then work around it. So now we have our 3 characters here, and they've come into a level where there is a guards that are patrolling in the main area. There's in the demo, you'll see that as well. But there's also a dynamic obstacle that is time-based in how it changes. So we want to get over to the other side of this level and get to the goal area, which is down here by this car. But you see there's a parking boom that's down right now. We cannot get through that, despite our best efforts. So what we have to do is we've heard that this boom will be going up for a short period of time. And that's our window of opportunity, so to speak. So if you look at the timeline in the upper left-hand corner, just one sec while I jump over here. If you look at the timeline, you notice the yellow bar. There's a 4th character there, and there's a period during that yellow character's timeline where there's squiggly lines around the center of it. And that takes place for about 4 bars. All the turns in the game are musical under the hood. That's not something you need to remember, but there's 4 blocks there that are marked by that. And that is the period that he is going to trigger something, and that boom is going to go up. So we need to get down there and then see if we can get through in time. Okay, so now if you look at the timeline, you see that where my character Watts is, it's advanced to the point where it's overlapping with that curvy area. So that is the window. And as you see, the boom has now gone up. So I need to make it through there before it goes down all the way. Now, if I try to go in right away, straight off the bat, then I bump into that guard and I can't progress anymore. So this is a point where some prudence is necessary to get me through this level, through this puzzle. So if I burn a turn with rest, the character will advance. So I'm using up my turns and getting closer to running out of them, but by burning a turn in time, the guards will continue on, and then I can get there before it closes. So now I've made it through, and then I can get myself to the goal area. So this is an example where you need to look at the environment, and you need to look at how things are going to change in the environment, and then time your actions to it. So the timing here was, number one, I needed to get over there fast enough. But beyond that, it wasn't just about being fast. I actually had to hold up once I got there, so I did not bump into that guard that was coming through. And the way these puzzles unravel over time is they get more and more intricate, with all these different people going different places and different things opening up. And it's about helping each other, because that's the key of Backbeat. The Backbeat is about live music. And the way to make live music really sing is to make your partner look good. It's not about one person coming up and hogging all of the attention. It's about working together. Not everybody solos at once. There's a reason it's called a solo. And that is the key to solving Backbeat, is learning how to work in these changes to the music and these solos so that you don't step on anyone's toes. And they work out well together. As an aside, one more thing about in this level is that you can see I've got this meter in the lower right-hand corner. It's this orange cone down here. That is the first of the 4 musical resources which we have in the game. We call this one stagger. And what stagger is it means I cannot make a turn at the same time someone else is making a turn. I have to keep direction or not move at all when someone else is. Because whenever you change direction, the music is going to change. Because in our game, every step that you take is another change in the music, and those changes of all the music which you put together makes the song that plays back at the end. And I encourage you to play the demo to see that for yourself, because it's really a fantastic thing. We're not going to do that in the stream today, but the changes that you make, and all changes that all 4 characters make together, are taken together to build these musical resources. So if you look at my timeline, there are these triangles inside of the purple part and the yellow parts and things like that. So if I swap over to Toshi for a second here, you see that there's no triangles now within his, but then if I turn here, a triangle gets written into the timeline. So that's a time that I changed direction. I was going straight, and now I made a right-hand turn. And then if I turn now, it's the same time as Watt's turn, as you can see the two triangles overlapping in the purple and the green timelines. And when I did that, if you see it, you look at the music metric meter, the music resource meter in the lower hand corner, it's getting smaller when I'm previewing that move. Because when I make a turn that someone else is making a turn in the timeline, I lose that resource. And if I run out of that resource, then you can't play anymore, and you're in a deadlock state, basically. And then you can't progress. So what you have to do is ration the times that you turn, either by choosing a different path or using a rest to make that meter go up. So if I rest now for a second, and then I change direction, it's going to go up. Because Watts was not turning at that time. So now I have the arrows not overlapping vertically. And that's the stagger resource. So that's another, I guess, caveat of how you move. So this is not simply a Sokoban style game where you're moving people through the environment. This is a game where you have resources and tactics and later power moves and other things like that come into play, so that the timing of when you do these different things gets increasingly intricate. And then you have to follow this set of rules to get the maximum score. And there's no one solution to beat the levels. You can get a C in lots of different ways. You can get an A in lots of different ways. You can even get an S in lots of different ways. That's part of the beauty of Backbeat, of our games. But this is part of the depth that is revealed throughout the game as you move on. And there's 4 of these resources. I've just told you about one, Stagger. There's 3 more that come after this that have other rules governing when you're allowed to do different things in terms of movement and solos and stuff like that. And all of these have to be taken together, and sometimes there's trade-offs about which one you can use. So that is a little bit about talking about the one of the levels that's coming up in the retail version of the game. This is not in the demo, but it will definitely be there. There'll be lots more, even more involved in this. So I think now we're going to go away from the game for a few minutes and go back to Keynote, and we're going to talk about the story, and we're going to talk about the music. It was somebody asked about the funk, I think, one of our channels, and the music inspiration and how the music works and how the music is played. So that's what we're going to cover next. So just one sec. Right. Got some key art in here, I think. You will see some of this stuff popping up on our Steam page and other things coming soon. But this is working on that. This is the apex of what we've been drawing recently in terms of the vibe and conveying the sense of how you're manipulating time and what it means to be a band, and what's the graphics and the color that we're working with here. It's really, really cool stuff. We have some fantastic artists working in the studio right now. So coming to talk about the story, I can tell you a little bit about what kind of mood were we going for, what were we setting it for. I mentioned that the game takes place in the 90s. It's suburban America. It's about 20-somethings trying to find a place to rally around and come together. There's lots of great movies that were made from the early 80s to the early 2000s about music, about bands, and a lot of these, of course, inspired us. And we had a great time watching these films and drawing inspiration from these films. I think you can put them on a spectrum between the fantastic to the realistic. And Backbeat is more to the right. We do have power moves, which kind of bend the rules of physics in certain ways. But we don't have travel through time and find Socrates or anything like that, or take Napoleon to get ice cream. But there's a film called The Commitments, which came out in the early 90s, an Irish film, and it really captures what I think is very true about what it is to be in a band, in a tongue-in-cheek kind of way, like in terms of the people having different goals they're going after, and everyone's trying to make it work, but they're trying to make ends meet, and they have obligations outside of just the music that they're playing. And sometimes talent is not enough, and it causes friction along the way. So that's the kind of vibe I think that we wanted to nail in Backbeat. We wanted something that felt real and believable, and we wanted to have characters that felt real and believable. And we designed them in a way where part of them is made with the stereotypes of the roles of what it is to be a musician, to be a bassist and to anchor the team, or to be the synth, the gearhead, and to be a master of technical wizardry and all the patches and having the excellent sounds. And a part of it also, I think, is terms of what's your obligation, or what's your driver in life. Are you doing this for yourself? Are you doing it for your parents? Are you doing it because you're looking for something better? And these questions that you ask yourself as an artist and as someone who is trying to put something together, and the friction that comes from that and internally, and the friction that comes from working with other people in a creative endeavor is always, even more messy. It has its great highs, but it also has its lows, and there's things that go wrong, and people don't always get along. And those are the kind of feelings that we wanted to have in Backbeat, with the characters and the story and things like that. So to me, it's kind of amalgamation of these films, especially maybe more the ones on the right than the ones on the left. But I really hope that you guys end up enjoying growing with the characters and learning about the world of Backbeat of Hornsburg together. The music is something that we started with from day one, and that goes without saying, because in our company at Ichigoichie, what we do is we build games where music is the key. It's the linchpin of that holds everything together. And we don't build games where we're not trying to build another Bemani style game, but we're building games where the music is a big part of the game design. And we want to give you, the players, a lot of creativity, a lot of freedom to express yourselves. And even if you were not, especially if you were not a proficient musician, we want to give you those powers. Because my co-founder Magnus and I, we came into the company having worked at a music company, Propellerhead Software, that was all about making music software for people and trying to make it easier for people who have had difficulty, because it's a very hard thing to get into, to make music. So music in Backbeat is creative in that it's controlled by you, but it's on rails enough that it's not possible for you to make something that sounds like complete nonsense. So no matter what solution you have for any of the puzzles in Backbeat, the songs that you will produce will sound great, and it will be catchy. And they could sound even better if you get really good at the game, but they will never sound bad. So you don't have to worry about that. In Backbeat 2, there's nothing about rhythm, where you need to have fingers of fury and then like tapping through stuff like that. So if you want to take your time to solve a game and just to sit down and do music slowly, glacially over time, this game will help you with that. In Hexagroove, we made a game which is very based on club life and EDM and DJs and things like that. This time we wanted to do 180. We wanted to build something that was very analog, that felt very human and pure, and it's a group effort. It's an ensemble piece, just like the story of Backbeat is. So we started out with some of the music that we thought was great about improvisation and working together, that was very easy to dance and to improvise with and just clap along. So funk and fusion were two things that we looked at a lot. And funk in Backbeat grows over time. So as the player, as Watts, grows herself and learns about what funk music is, from knowing next to nothing at the beginning of the game to being a master of it near the end, you also kind of go on this journey where you see funk evolve slowly over time, going back to its roots with like James Brown and soul and things like that in the 60s, and then going to a place where experimentation and jazz started having an external influence and things like that. So you will hear lots of different kinds of funk in Backbeat, and we have internally like a key song or like a vibe that we wanted to have in each of the themes that shows up, and you get to play with those. So I hope you guys really enjoy them. We also had, like I said, jazz fusion is a big thing too. The band that you fight against, or I guess compete against in Backbeat, is a Latin jazz band in particular, and they are very flamboyant and full of themselves, and they're all about like showing off and thinking that they're hot stuff. So that they have a nice contrast to the more humble way that Watts and her friends approach funk, and they come and butt heads about this in terms of ideology and things like that. So we spent a lot of time looking at flyers and looking at bands and looking at album covers, and like we wanted to have this influence both the visual design but also the way that the missions and how you follow things and stuff like that. So in Backbeat, what you can do with music is quite broad, actually. So you start out with just the bass, and then in the demo you pick up two more instruments, two more people to join your band, the drummer and the keyboardist. Later you get a saxophonist in your band, and the four of you form your own band. But through the 20 or so different songs that we have in the game, through the different levels, you are building your own songs out of these variations. So each, even though we have like a theme, that theme is just like a general kind of concept. And we have 4 variations, 3 or 4 variations on each of the instruments at each point in time that we kind of cut up and work internally. So the way that you move is influencing directly the music. And when you clear the level, all of those pieces of music are played back together in that music video, with the VHS stripes and everything that we're playing for you. That's something you've created directly and indirectly out of your actions. So you get to make many different kinds of funk. There's different vibes of funk for different kind of stories and different levels that you're in. And like I said before, there's unlocks in the game. So if you do really well, you start to unlock additional instruments. So you can go different like bass styles, like a slap bass style, or not just a saxophone, but maybe it's like a UE, or you're going from like a Rhodes to like a Hammond organ and things like that. So you get instrument swaps and playing style swaps for each of the characters in your band. And you also get what we call an insert effects. So we can change the music in different ways, just as if you were running the game through like a piece of professional audio software, a DAW, like distortion and chorus and things like that. And you can choose in your settings menu for you want to turn these off and on. And you get a preview of how it'll sound. So when you finish the level, you have control over the instrument, and you have control over the playing style and what effects you want to use, and the path that you're building. So the kind of songs that are produced out of Backbeat are quite varied, and they're very much you. And I really look forward to seeing you guys try them all out when we get into the full version. So I think next we are about a little behind or right on schedule. We're going to be at the point now where we're going to talk a bit more about advanced mechanics. We're going to jump back to the game again, show you guys more levels that are not in the demo, and show you more ways of how the game is played further on. So one sec, and I'll get you right there. All right, so now we're back. All right, again, if you guys have any questions, you can talk in one of our chats, either in YouTube or in Steam. Just ask us whatever questions you have. Andrea will let me know. She'll answer what she can. If there's something else, I'm happy to talk with you guys, and just shout. I'm also going to take this moment before we move any further to remind you to please follow our social media accounts. We try really hard to grow the company brand, the followers, you guys, the people we're making this game for. We'd love to have you following us on social media, on Twitter, on YouTube, on Instagram, and telling us what you think about the games. So please participate. We would love to hear from you. We're working really hard on Steam this time as well. We're doing dev blogs every month. We have a community forum that our designer Andy has put together. He made a quick start guide in there with controls and things like that. Please share your art, your questions, talk to each other, tell us what works for you in the demo. Ask us questions why things are the way they are. We would love to hear it because we want to make the game better, and we want to make it for you. So that's what we're doing. There is no sound of the game right now. Thanks for letting me know, Andy. This level doesn't have any backing clips right away in the story, but it should be okay in a second. Also, the demo is live, so you can play a lot of the levels that we've been talking about. Grab them yourselves now. Please wishlist on Steam. That's not a commitment for anything other than hearing more about the game. And we will have contests and giveaways and things like that. So please jump over to Steam right now, click on the wishlist button, and be notified about all the great advancements that are going on with this game coming up. And if you haven't seen our website yet, look at backbeatgame.com and discover what the internet was like in 1995. If you don't have Internet Explorer 3, it's okay. It probably wouldn't work with that anyway, but we tried to make it look like that. So if you have a fan of charming, antiquated web graphics, then you can go over there and see if how we stack up with that. All right, so let's go back to the game now. So there we go. So now what we are is we're in this level that Andy made, our fantastic level designer. And this level shows off the interact skill. So this is, you got a peek of this a couple minutes ago when we were looking at the parking lot level. We were trying to get there with the boom going up. But basically, there's these objects that are inside of the levels, and you can interact with them. And when you interact with them, it's going to trigger a solo. And that solo is about 4 bars long, 4 blocks of time in the timeline. And that's the window to help somebody else out. So if I try to get over here with Watts, we see that she's not going to be able to make it through a door because she's 1 tile too far up. If you think about the characters in Backbeat as like chess pieces, this makes sense. Like her and Toshi are very similar in how they move in some ways, but they're on staggered tiles. So it's like the white versus black. They can access different things. So even though she could interact and open this door for us, it would be better if someone else opened it for her. So if we go over to Toshi here, turns out he can walk up to it, and there's already an open door right here next to it, so he can trigger that. And then Watts can go through the door Toshi opened for her. So she made it through. And I can swap between different characters with the bumper buttons. You see my staggers going down. I gotta watch out. If I run out of that, I won't be able to keep playing, so I gotta keep track of that too. But the way Josh moves is he's kind of like a rook, where he moves laterally a whole lot, but it's a bit different. But it's very Sokoban style. Like he will stop whenever he gets to something. So you need to hit things intentionally to shorten his throw to work him around. So actually, I have not played this in a while, so I don't even know if I can remember it for you right now. Like Andy's probably like sitting there laughing his butt off right now.
We can do it.
Yeah. Okay, so Josh has made it through now. So that was good. Toshi got the door open for us. And we've gotten over here. And now Toshi can get almost to the goal, but now there's another door, and he's not going to make that. So I need to get someone else over to this other coin machine, which is going to open the other door, and get someone else to help them out. So she can walk right up to it this time. So now she's opened it, and you see in the timeline that there's those 4 bars with the wiggly lines through the 4 blocks. So that's the period of time that now Toshi can get through, and he can get to the goal. And then poor old Josh, what's he gonna do? No, maybe he can just go around. Yeah. Oh no.
You can do it.
Yay! Okay. So that's it. That's how you get them. So when you get everybody together, then you push the button here at the end, you get the music video that plays back. Again, I'm not gonna do that today because it takes a bit more time, but I really recommend you guys try that out for yourselves in the demo and see how that music is made, because it's really nice. So now what I'm gonna do is, I think we have one more level, that we can try out. So let's try that out. I'll throw you back to the level changing screen. 1 second. So that screen that I've been putting up when you guys are when I'm switching levels, I don't know if you could hear. I don't know if the mic is turned on then, but anyway, so that's like a test pattern type screen I think that you would see as a kid in America. But then in the office, some people are like, oh no, what's that? That's not a test pattern screen. And then they're like throwing up like Swedish test pattern screens, which are incredibly intricate and got like circles and like bisected triangles and things and stuff like that. Like, wow, European text like test pattern screens are so much more refined. What did we have? We just had like 8 colors and that was it, and then like a sine wave. But yeah. All right, so we're back, and we have one more level to look at today before we get towards the end of the stream. So this is about super moves. So Toshi and Josh now are at Hollywood movies, and they need to get out to practice. But the manager has been a not so nice person and locked them in the back into the break room or something like that. So we need to figure out a way to get out of here. But I think that Josh has a power move that you get deeper in the game. where he can actually break through walls. So there's certain walls that he can just bust through, and we are building the VFX and things like that for it right now. But gameplay wise, it works pretty good actually. So Josh can break through walls with his power move, and that helps unblock people literally. But with the power moves in Backbeat, they are a resource, just like Stagger or Align and these other musical resources, where there's a cooldown. So you cannot do these moves right away, and you need to pace yourself of when you're going to do them. So now that he has broken through this wall, Toshi can follow after him and get through. But now we've got guards like patrolling through here. So many customers making the rounds looking for new copies of Adolescent Samurai Whales 4, which is very hot this summer and everybody wants to get a copy. So what I can do is I can wait a second here because I'll do this once. And what Toshi has is he has a power slide. So he's got like this Pete Townsend type thing where he can get on his knees and just like cruise by a guard without actually being hit by them. But he can only do it once, and that takes a long time for him to regain his power. So if you time it just right, you can slide through the right one. But if you blow it too early, too late, it's not going to work. So, but now that he's over here, I've got some other things in here. So what we can do is we've got guards patrolling and 2 open doors. Now, if I wait a little bit, so right before the guard is about to go through the door, now if I interact with it, I've closed the doors. The doors will be closed for 4 bars. So at this point in time, the guards are going to be stuck. So Josh may be able to sneak by right before they start coming through again. Okay, so it's closed. No, that guy's there. I gotta wait a bit more. Oh, just beyond it. Fantastic. So now I could get Josh through by waiting for just the right moment to take the full effect of that door being closed and all the guards piling up behind it. So these are 2 simple test levels, but when you go deeper into the game, you're going to have larger maps, you're going to have longer levels, all 4 characters together with their special moves and being able to interact with these things. And you have the musical resources that you can maximize. And if that sounds overwhelming, it definitely is right at the beginning, which is why we've taken these mechanics and rationed them out throughout the course of the game. So you spend maybe 60 to 70% of the game discovering these new mechanics, and they build on each other, and they build in a way that you are familiar with the older ones before you get to the newer ones. And then they start throwing some twists and things like that. So when you get to the point where you have unlocked everything in the game and have all of the mechanics, it's actually quite interesting to see all the different ways that you perceive time and use of your resources, like in a efficient manner, to build the best kind of solutions, still multiple solutions for each level. And that's the fun of Backbeat. And this has legs, and there's a lot of depth here. There's over 45 levels going to be in the full the full version of the game when it comes out next year. So I really hope you guys can look forward to that and learning and these deepening mechanics that come out over time. So that's coming up. But right now we have the demo. So please give the demo a shot. Tell us what you think in the forums. Follow us on social media. Tweet at us. Give us an Instagram post, whatever. We'd love to hear from you. And now I think we're at the point where maybe we can do a raffle. I probably should have started a bit sooner about this now. So let's do it like this. So we'll take about 2 or 3 minutes now. And if you would like to win a copy of Hexagroove Tactical DJ for Steam or Switch or Xbox, we're happy to set you up with that in that contest. So right now in your chat, if you could type, what should they type? Should I type Hexagroove, or should I type Backbeat, or what should I type?
They should type funk.
Okay, type funk. Write the 4-letter word funk in the chat now. And then if you do that afterwards, we'll enter your name into one of these like raffle app things, and we will see if you can win it. So here's your chance, everyone. Type in Steam or in YouTube. Lots of comments in YouTube. I don't know if I've seen any comments in Steam yet. Hopefully I'm not missing that over there. don't see any in here for Steam. So we should play like the Jeopardy music now or something.
Yeah, we should put on.
Dun, 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 dun. And then let's see here if we can see. There's 319 people watching right now.
Gosh.
Thank you, 319 people. You're fantastic. But tell me, join in. You're probably like watching some other streams, and there's like multiple streams going on right now. It's a very crowded day. Thank you for taking the time to stop by and talk with us. If you want to enter to win the raffle, just type the word funk into the chat, and we will do that in a few minutes. In the meantime, if anybody has any more questions about the art, about the music, or about Backbeat in general, or the future of Backbeat or Hexagroove, let us know. I am happy to hear from you, and we'll answer all of your questions. So I'm going to go back to the menu music here and get some nice backing music. One sec. There we go. That funky, funky menu music done by Pete. It's quite catchy, actually. I don't get sick of listening to it. You'd think I would after making that music video with the bouncing ball and the singing. If you haven't seen our trailer, with that explains what the game is like with the power of song. Okay, thank you. So yes, Gen Stasis has asked us if we were curious, or that they were curious. They want to know if we're going to have a level creator available later on. That is one thing we've thought about. We have an internal level creator in our game engine right now. It is a little buggy. I would like to be able to have one that you guys could work on too. But that is not in the plans for version 1.0. But it's possible that we could add that on a little bit later if we get a lot of people excited about the game and trying it out and things like that. I know it's one thing we've talked about internally, but we would love to see you guys make these levels too, because it's quite fun to piece them together. And I would love to see you guys share them with each other too. That would be fantastic, making Backbeat levels. Sentimental Salamander had the same thought. Fantastic. GMTA. Great minds think alike. Any other questions? This is great. Please let us know. See Martin Dion here. Thank you for coming, Martin. It's awesome that you always support us. Thank you so much. Shoutouts to you. You've been helping us out and commenting and supporting us on YouTube and Facebook for quite some time. You guys noticed that, like, when you move the menu selection, there's like this paper turning sound, and it's like one sound when you move to the left, one sound when you move to the right. Like you're going back and forth, or it's in a catalog or something. oh, listen to it all day. Maybe it drives you guys nuts. The telephone book. Yeah, the big telephone book. When's the last time you picked up one of those? Not to like beat someone in the head with it or something.
That's a weapon.
Yeah. But what is it? Is it Yakuza, where you can like beat people with telephone books? Or maybe it's GTA. I forget which. I think it's actually like in Yakuza games, you can beat people with telephone books. You can beat people with all kinds of things in those games. Yeah. Yeah. You could. I mean, that's like you know. I mean, it's not quite as dense, but it's almost like a MacBook or something like that. You could hurt somebody with those things. Thank you for playing the demo, Linus. Really appreciate that. It's so great. We look forward to seeing you from here on out. please keep checking out our stuff and let us know what you think. If anything that was sticky for you or did not, you had any trouble getting on board with the controls or something like that, just shout at us in the forums or in the social media. We would love to hear it. Thanks so much.
Some people have trouble with clearing the demo, right?
Yeah, there have been some people who talked about having a little bit of difficulty with the demo. Like I said, it's worth mentioning again, is that there is no mouse support in the game right now. So you either play with the controller or you play with the keyboard. And if you're playing with the keyboard, then it's WASD to move in the game world, and then enter to move forward. So you hold down the WA or SOD like if you were pushing the analog stick. Excuse me. That is written in our quick start guide. It's outside of the thing right now, so that's one thing that's not directly in the game. Sorry, we're gonna make that better, I promise. Another thing is that you can also, if you're a student of Japanese, you can run the game in Japanese by using a launch option. Eventually that will be in a settings menu that we haven't built yet inside the game, but you can use a launch code, a launch option thing in Steam to get Japanese language support. The details of that are also written in the quick start guide that Takobel Doge wrote in our Backbeat forum. So I think we're just about out of time for today. If there's a last question that someone had, we'll wait for the buffer to come around and check that. But otherwise, I think we're gonna draw it up here and call it a day.
So quickly enter the word fun.
Write the word funk. For Jen Stasis is gonna win it all. But we will be doing 2 more streams in case you just caught the tail end of this and wanted to see the beginning, or vice versa. I guess you wouldn't know that because you wouldn't be hearing this part. But we have a stream again late on Monday night, America time, and early Tuesday morning, European time. So you can check out our page for that. That event is up. There's a stream tomorrow, but it's just in Japanese. So if you want to hear me ramble on in Japanese, there's a chance for that. But otherwise, I will not be able to answer questions there. So I will see you on Tuesday instead, or Monday night rather. Okay, so that's it. That was a fantastic hour. Thank you so much for coming out and joining us. Thank you to all the people in Steam and all the people on YouTube that stopped by to listen. And it means so much that you're supporting us, indie developers, just by checking out our demo and following our page and liking the news and stuff. It really makes us feel, pepped to keep on fighting. So thank you so much for your support. And check us out on social media, and we will see you again real soon.
I'll come back to me.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Backbeat.
Backbeat.
Over here.